We got America College baseball coach. We also have to talk about the American League Central and a couple of really notable debuts. It feels like everything is happening within the American League Central. So consider this the Just AL Central show. Jack and Aram, the Just Baseball show is presented by BetMGM. It's Thursday, June 27th, but we're also talking about the SEC. This was a really fun rundown to kind of think about because we have a new best team in baseball in terms of winning percentage. We had cinema, like an absolute show on Tuesday night that we got to go back and recap. But we got to start with this dumbassery in college baseball. First and foremost, you weren't on the show kind of recapping the College World Series. Christian Moore, is he a first round guy or what? He's a
He
freak.
is. It's funny. I was talking about it with Peter though. I'm like, he's giving me Ivan Melendez vibes. So like,
Really?
take that with a
Wow.
grain of like. I just think defensively limited, crazy power. He's just, I mean, what Melendez did in college baseball is unreal, and like what he's doing from a power perspective in the minors is awesome. I'm just a little concerned that it might not totally translate. But man, was he fun to watch on the collegiate stage, and I mean, just really special power.
He's more of an athlete than Melendez. Like part of me when you
Yes.
first said Ivan Melendez, I was like, are you talking about Blake Burke? But like, no, you're talking about Christian Moore.
Yeah, because it's like a subpar second base kind of.
Okay. Interesting. But he was awesome. College baseball, like when do you I obviously you keep tabs on a lot of the first round guys. When do you really tap in? The regional conference
Regional,
tournaments?
regional, because I there's something about just like I love watching a team that has no business playing against some of the other teams, like in Evansville. Like I was dialed in Evansville. I had my girlfriend Ellie like looped into it. She was excited about Evansville. Like we were ready to watch that one because it's like the underdog story. Of course, it's exciting, but it's also like how does this shit slinger that is throwing at 82, where on the other side some guys throwing 98, and somehow you're going toe to toe with them. Sometimes somehow you steal a game. Like I love that part of the regional. And then also there's just times where they boat race teams, and that's also fun. So yeah, usually the regional will tap in. Sometimes the conference tourneys at the end can get fun, but for
Yeah.
the most part, yeah, the regional and then super regional starts to heat up for me.
Yeah, 100%. College Station, there was a super in College Station, although Braden Montgomery got hurt in the regional. But they get to the College World Series. They end up losing to Tennessee. Jace Laviolette, who's probably the odds-on favorite to go number one overall next year, him and Cam Cannarella, who's the center fielder for Clemson, are
Mhm.
probably the two leaders in the clubhouse to go 1-1 in the 2025 draft. But Laviolette's in the portal because his head coach just left College Station. Jim Schlossnagle, who I do believe was at TCU before taking the A&M job, echoed some sentiments when he was at TCU, like, this is the job that I want to have forever. And then he goes and takes the A&M job. He's there for 3 years. He's the national runner-up. And there was a reporter that asked Coach Schlossnagle after A&M lost the national championship if he had heard the rumors about the Texas job and where he kind of stood on that. And he said, quote, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. I understand you've got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job. And I've given this job every single ounce I could possibly give it. Write that. And then he stood up and left. And about 15 hours later, Jim Schlossnagle was the head
He
coach of
left.
Texas. He
Yeah.
left after bullying the shit out of a reporter that was simply like trying to do his job. He murdered them and said, how dare you ask me this? This is my lifetime job. And within 24 hours, he left.
80 grade gaslight there. But
Insane.
it's so good. Like really, really talented stuff there. But okay, a couple things. First, I understand a coach not wanting to answer that question, right after losing. Just say you don't want to answer it right now. Say we just lost. I'm reeling. Like I feel for our guys. Leave it at that. You
Don't
don't
be
need, but you know why he didn't say that? Because this was like defensive 101 here, where it's like, I didn't even insinuate something. And then you got so defensive that now I'm like, whoa, like what's going on? Also, last thing, what does he mean he left his family?
I don't
I don't
know.
want to be insensitive there. Like maybe there's something I don't know. I'm not that tapped into like, how all the details of all of these coaches of collegiate teams. But like, what do you mean left your family? Especially if he was at TCU. Like, I know Texas is a big state, but like he's making it sound like he left the other side of the world. Like he was in the UK and said, "I'm going to go take this coaching job in the US to go be a college baseball coach." Like, what do you mean left your family? Also, you made a lot of money to get this job. Like, you bring them with you. Again, there might be things I don't know, but like I just thought that was a wild thing to just fire out right away. I left my family. Okay. So
Don't
is
leave
he
your family next time.
leaving them again, or now is he going closer to them? I don't know the Texas geography. Or are they with him, or are they waiting for him in Austin? Austin's a great city, so maybe they'll go there. It's expensive though.
Yeah.
So is he bringing them with him this time?
Dude, I've got the same questions that you do. I'm not sure. I think A&M paid him enough. And like, I understand that it's Texas baseball. Like, that's a totally different brand. And I understand that like A&M is a huge brand in college baseball. Texas is bigger. Like the Texas job, that was Augie Garrido's job forever. It's Texas and Florida State when you think about college baseball. I think USC is up there too. I think Miami was up there, but kind of lost some of that luster. I think Florida State is certainly up there. Like there are premier brands in college baseball. And like when Tim Corbin took the job at Vandy, it was not that brand. Like he turned it into what it is. Vandy was not a brand before Tim Corbin got there. Jim Schlossnagle went to A&M when A&M was an absolute brand. And he's brand jumping from like, I don't want to call TCU Coles, but like, let's call it, I'm thinking backpacks. Like, I'm blank. What's that Norwegian backpack? You know what I'm talking about? Fjallraven.
I don't know if I know
Yeah.
that. I'm not privy to Norwegian
backpacks.
backpacks.
Let's go high price stuff. So like TCU, Lululemon, right? He goes from Lulu to, I don't know. We jump to Givenchy,
Wow.
right? At A&M.
How big of a jump you think that is for baseball? Maybe I don't know if we can like accurately compare that. I don't know enough about fashion either.
I think I lost it. Yeah, I think I totally
It's
lost
okay.
it.
I know what you're trying to say though.
But like he was just bougie brand jumping, and now he's at like the bougiest best brand. But like, don't be a dick to reporters, dude. That
Yeah,
was that was a horrible, horrible look for him. And frankly, like, I don't know if he cares. But man, you got off on a horrible foot at Texas.
well, the point that you're making, like, and again, if I knew more about like clothing and fashion, I could definitely chip in and help you out here. But like, I get it because like I can't blame him for wanting to jump to a better opportunity and a better brand, especially when it's college baseball and the NIL world. And, you know, you need to not only recruit people to, not only do you need funding, you need to recruit people to your brand and, you know, to be at the school that you want to be in the city. And it's beyond that. And Texas is a national brand. Like we know that. A&M is a bigger brand, obviously, than TCU. So I get that. He's climbing upwards. But how you do it, I think makes a big difference. And again, I have no issue with him going to take, I'd do the same thing. I'd go take the Texas job too for more money. I probably wouldn't cite leaving my family. Again, there might be something there. If there is, I'm sorry. Actually, I should say I apologize, which is my favorite thing too. Instead of saying I'm sorry and I messed up, the I apologize kills me. If anyone ever says sorry to me, like about something, and they say I apologize, I'm more pissed.
Yeah.
Just I apologize. Saying in your head, you're saying, "Oh, I needed to apologize. I'm going to go do that." And this was my favorite part. Yeah, but you know, before we move on to the MLB side of things, I love this part of it. He asked a question, and this is from Schlossnagle. He asked a question that was an obvious question. I wish I could have answered that better, but in the moment, all 30 minutes after that last pitch, all I could think about was our players, and I wasn't really in the mood to talk about myself for the future. All you could think about was your players because you knew you were about to leave them or because they just lost. And again, like it's okay to leave the players. Right. Players are jumping all over the place for NIL too. But I just, again, like if you're going to pull that one out, you just pulled the family card, just pulled the players card, like just say you're making the best decision for your family and leave it at that. And I think that keeps it very simple. And again, these coaches are getting screwed all the time too by players jumping and taking money, which is fine. Players should do that also. This is the free market craziness we have in college baseball. But I think, you know, to cite the kids, all I could think about was the kids. Like, you're leaving, dude, and you were just one game away from a World Series. So that part of it is tough, and I also think it's a tough look when you were one game away. Like you couldn't get them to give you a little bit more money and stay. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah. Also, he led that thing off with "I apologize." So I always love that. I apologize.
Yeah, watching people talk out of their ass is like a very fun thing. And this was, 24 hours of watching him absolutely talk out of his ass. And it was like very enjoyable. I think the way that I can actually demonstrate it is steakhouses. Let's go steakhouses, right? So Weber Grill was TCU. That's a really good meal. I greatly enjoy Weber Grill. But like I understand if you want to go to a St. Elmo's or like anywhere that, is at the top of your thought, when it comes to, hey, mid-level city, let's go to the nice steakhouse in that city. I get it. That's A&M. And then Peter Luger comes calling in New York. And it's like, oh, this is the one. You've got the fucking gold shavings on the steak. Like that's what he just
take it.
To. You take it for sure. But like you don't tell St. Elmo's that you're like,
I'm never leaving. I love it here.
Leaving.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever eaten.
Would you ever consider eating anywhere else? No. Why would you even ask me that? I'm trying to enjoy my meal.
That's a horrible question. What? I love this steakhouse.
I'm about to eat this steak and you're asking me about other steaks. I mean, how could you?
But that one's in gold. I don't care. I love it. Then the next
care.
morning you're like, I kind of want the gold steak.
Yeah. Well, you got it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the gold standard here in Major League Baseball. And as it stands right now, it is the
great segue into Dallas Keuchel's season debut.
That was really good. I know. Dallas Keuchel with the Milwaukee Brewers, the gold standard of shit tossing lefties. Also, speaking of shit tossers, third time we've used that term on the show today. Congratulations to Kyle Hendricks on 10 years of Major League service.
Yeah, he can retire now.
That was awesome. And like I hope he's rides out the rest of this year, and we'll see how much longer he wants to go. I've heard as good of a clubhouse guy as there is in Major League Baseball, as smart of a guy as there is in Major League Baseball. And this guy won an ERA title, man. Like he was one of the most underrated pitchers of the past generation. We're going to think about Kershaw, Verlander, Scherzer, understandably so. And then you got to think about Kyle Hendricks. Like I think he's on the same, not the same level as Kluber because Kluber won multiple Cy Youngs, but he's a step down from Kluber. Like I think you should be talking about Kyle Hendricks in the same way that, you talked about the back half of Adam Wainwright's career. And there are,
I think Waino is the great comp where I think a lot of what we saw from Waino, because Kluber's peaks were just like outrageous.
Crazy.
But to your point, ERA title, finished third in Cy Young voting, finished top 10 another year, lowest walks per nine in Major League Baseball. And then I think over the last few years, it's really inflated those numbers. But given the story and the expectations and what he's been able to do as a guy that was, not very sought after, I think is really amazing. I do want to also mention, like, yeah, he's been a disaster, but not lately. Last 5 appearances, 21 innings, 3 earned runs. So it would be nice if he could kind of just finish this year strong and all of a sudden, have a nice little going out, not quite the Waino way. But maybe he tries to stick around a little bit longer if he finds something. But last time out, 7 innings, 2 runs. I know it's at the Giants, and it's a good place to pitch there, but he's been better of late. So it's pretty nuts considering the way the Cubs are going. Like he's been one of their better arms over the last couple of weeks.
He was also the losing pitcher in that one, I think, going 7 innings at 2-run ball. That offense is horrible.
The Cubs are cooked.
They're really not good.
They're really not good. Like I know they've had injuries to the bullpen, but like every time I watch the late innings of their games, I'm like, how did Jed Hoyer think this was going to work? And again, I know you can go look at some of the guys that are hurt. They've got some good arms that are on the shelf, but still, even those guys, I think you're ambitiously hoping that they're going to be dudes. Like Neris was your big get. It just seems like they put themselves in a weird spot, and it's not like it's a rotation full of guys that you confidently are stretching out all the time and can count on every 5th day either. Like, I mean, no one was expecting Imanaga to do what he did in the first half of the season.
No.
And if he was more of the 3-6 guy that a lot of people were expecting, where are they now then? So like they got an overperformance from him. They've gotten an overperformance, I think, from Tyone.
Yes.
And it still is kind of a disaster pitching wise. And that's not even getting into, and I know they've done well overall, but they continue to blow games late and things like that. And then the offense, if they go down a couple runs, it feels like they're toast. There's no way this team can buy. I don't think there's any way this team should add.
I really liked the Neris signing over the offseason because
Oh, I liked it, but like that can't be it.
that can't be it. I was thinking, Chapman was going to, be involved there. And I know they've been rumored for Bichette several times at this point, but like, I thought that there was some serious fire to that. I'm not sure. But man, like if they made a big splash offensively like that, I would have felt good. I felt good about Neris getting the 8th because he was so good in the 7th for Houston. I was like, okay, yeah, let's level up with another team. He gets the 8th. Alzolay gets the 9th. Now Alzolay was not healthy. He was not good at the beginning of the year, and then he hit the shelf. But yeah, like that offense, I don't know why. I just like kind of ignored the lack of top end talent and how quickly it falls off. And like I think in terms of name brand recognition, Cody Bellinger and Dansby Swanson as a 1-2 punch. Going into the year, it's like, oh yeah, they have Bellinger, they have Dansby, they're fine. No, like
Not
those
really.
guys are like Bellinger stood on his head last year. You can't assume that he's going to be a 900 OPS guy every single year. And like I I don't know, I think the reasonable baseball person would expect Belly to take a step back from last year, but I
And
think
he hasn't. He's been fine. Like
he's been fine.
he's been kind of what everyone was expecting. I think that's what the market was for him, was that high 700s, maybe low 800s OPS with good defense. And I love the way you bring up about like the top end talent. Like, who's the best hitter on this team?
Bellinger, maybe Seiya.
Like, you need a star or two that is going to almost consistently, almost always mash. Because Dansby's a volatile, offensive piece at the end of the day. Like, he'll finish somewhere around a league average WRC plus, but it's ebbs and flows. Like Ian Happ is never going to be somebody that does anything crazy. He's always going to be slightly above average bat. Nico Horner, kind of the same story. Like, who are they expecting to be that like guy that makes a leap and is that offensive juggernaut, middle of the order masher? Michael Bush?
No,
Like,
Morel.
he's been great, but like, come on.
Morel
So
was
that's
the
what.
answer.
Come on. Then why were they dangling him in every trade talk going into the year?
You're not breaking news to me, but Morel was the answer. Morel was the guy that everybody was like, oh, he's going to be a star.
I don't think they believed it. Why would he be floated in so many conversations if that was the case? And they can't even play third. So like, I think they severely mischaracterized their own team, I guess is the best way to put it. And I know this wasn't part of the agenda here, but this is probably one of the more frustrating teams for me in baseball. It's just I don't even know what they're good at. I don't know what their strength is.
No, I think
Defense, I guess.
But even then, are they grading out as a
No,
plus?
because you hedge that in a bad way with your third base situation and with the corner outfield spots kind of being So now I get it with PCA in center and Bellinger and right, but I mean, like, what's the point of having one of the better middle infields when you have a guy that can't really play third, and then a guy that's not great at first? It's a weird spot. And the catcher spot, I think they severely overestimated what Jan Gomes could do after last year and what Miguel Amaya might be able to do this year.
He's kind of a whole bunch of nothing.
He hasn't played that much in the minor leagues. He's always been hurt.
I know.
Like, that guy's not really put together a complete good season in the minor leagues, and they're like, oh yeah, let's let him go. Like, I don't think he's put it together a complete good season since like low A, if I'm not mistaken.
Also,
So
I know he's one of the top prospects in all of baseball, and he's graduated at this point. But were you expecting PCA to be this lost? I wasn't personally. Coming into
no,
this year, I was like, oh, PCA is going to hold it down. No.
I've always had concerns about the approach, but I thought at the very least he's going to be like a Mike Harris light, where frustrating, gets himself out, but it's going to run into enough homers, extra base hits, and just be such a good defender and runner that it works out. He just doesn't look like he can handle big league pitching at this point. But I'm glad that they're giving him run now and just trying to see if it works. Might as well at this point.
Yeah. 2 teams in the American League Central. One really good, one really bad. We'll start with the team that is, by winning percentage, going into Wednesday's slate. I know Philly got a win, so they jumped him by like 1 point. The Phillies have a 663 winning percentage. but the best team in the American League and the best team in baseball entering play on Wednesday morning was the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians had a 662 winning percentage, which was good for the best in baseball on Wednesday morning. They are 51-26. I know that there was like a semi-viral clip that went around of a certain, media member in baseball saying, "Oh, I'm out on the Guardians. Who do they play?" Well, they play everybody. Not only that, they have figured it out in every single aspect of their game. They figured it out in the dugout with Stephen Vogt. They figured it out in the bullpen with a 2.35 bullpen ERA that clears the rest of Major League Baseball by, I think, half a run. They figured it out in the rotation with Shane Bieber on the shelf, Tristan McKenzie looking like a shell of what he once was, Gavin Williams not throwing for them yet this year. Like, they have pieced the rotation together at this point this year. And frankly, like, do I think that they can make improvements to the lineup? Yes, I do. And we're going to talk about somebody that I think can be an improvement that was an internal option a little bit later on in the show. But they have figured out this lineup and they have found guys that work so well together. And I know the power of friendship jokes are a real thing, but like this team more than any other feels like a power of friendship type team. And listen, like the Knicks got to the Eastern Conference they got to the Eastern Conference semis. Sorry, the Pacers won it. But I mean, like the Knicks got to the playoffs with vibes, and the Guardians.
How about the Heat? My Heat a year ago, like making that run to the finals, like that was on vibes. They're not as good as the Celtics and some of the teams they beat.
The 2021 Atlanta Braves. I know that we talk about the Braves as being star-studded right now, but the 21 Braves didn't have Acuna, they didn't have Harris, they didn't have Strider, and they won the World Series because they had a freaking awesome clubhouse.
Yeah.
Guess what, man? The Guardians are the vibe team. And if you like baseball, I guarantee you that you like the Cleveland Guardians. Unless you're a White Sox fan, unless you're like a team that the Guardians have personally victimized, like I'm not sure who those people are. If you are a baseball enjoyer, you like the Cleveland Guardians.
And what I love is like, we talked about like, okay, who's the star for the Cubs? Like they got that in Cleveland with Jose Ramirez. But beyond that, Stephen Kwan is performing like a star. Josh Naylor, I know it's not like star. He's not a star, but he can absolutely mash like a middle of the order piece, and he's slugging over 500. And then David Fry is a superstar. I won't hear anything other than that. But like he is playing like a really, really damn good player. Is that going to sustain? I don't know. And that's kind of where some of the questions come from me is Stephen Kwan going to hit 400? And, is David Fry going to be one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball? Maybe not. But I have a lot of faith in Andres Jimenez continuing to do what he's doing. Jose Ramirez continuing to do what he's doing. Same with Naylor. And I still know that Kwan's going to be one of the better hitters in the game at the end of the year, too. I have full faith that that's going to continue. What's most amazing to me is that they're doing this, man, with like Will Brennan playing right, with Daniel Schneemann, who's been great, but like threw him in center field, and he's been all right. Brian Roquillo has been not good at shortstop, and Bo Naylor has been bad at catcher. So like the back part of that lineup, and also three integral spots, shortstop, catcher, center field, right up the middle, are not proven guys for them right now, and they're still dominating. I love them bringing up Jhonkensy Noel because I think that allows David Fry potentially to catch more. I don't know what kind of defender he is, but that allows Fry to catch more. You put Noel in the DH spot. Wow, that would make your offense look a lot better. I still believe in Bo Naylor, but I think that gives you a nice plan B. And then we'll see what they do. But I mean, man, like they can add, because guess what? They have the number 1 pick in this year's draft. Yeah. And not just they could go get Bazana or Condon or whatever. They could go get Weatherholt and then add a ton of talent, because having the biggest pool is what everybody envies. These GMs don't envy the number 1 pick usually as much as they envy the bonus pool that comes with the number 1 pick. Yes. And the Guardians are in the driver's seat there too. They could go make a trade and then add a ton of talent, because I wouldn't be shocked if they go Weatherholt and then end up being able to add, multiple borderline first round type players because of their savings there. They're in the driver's seat. I really hope that they actually push the pedal to the metal instead of coast.
I could see it. Like, don't forget about the ownership change that happened. I do think that this team will be willing to spend a little bit more. And, like you talk about kind of the lame ducks in that lineup. I mean, dude, there are, I think, 4 teams with a higher run total, like runs scored total in Major League Baseball than them this year. the New York Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the LA Dodgers. The Guardians are right there. When you think about the 4 best teams in baseball, you think about the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees, and the O's. And then you got these plucky Cleveland Guardians whose offense falls off a cliff at the 5-hole. It's amazing what they're doing. And I'm not going to say that it's all pitching and defense, but like that tells you pitching and defense reign supreme. I know that the Mariners have a 5-game lead in the American League West on pitching and defense. Their offense sucks. Objectively is bad. They've got 325 runs scored. That is one of the lowest clips in the American League? I think, yeah, that's lower than the Detroit Tigers. You think about how abysmal the Tigers' offense has been. They've scored 327 runs. The Mariners have scored 325. Yet the Mariners are 9 games over 500, and the Tigers are 6 games under. It's pitching and defense. Cleveland has just enough star power, just enough offense to complement the pitching and defense. Yeah. They're everything the Mariners want to be right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's crazy is like the pitching, as you mentioned, isn't what it could possibly be because a healthy McKenzie and a healthy Bieber, and they're going to get Gavin back though, which is great. So that's more reinforcement coming. I think Logan Allen's still going to throw better as the season progresses. Tanner Bybee has been one of the better pitchers in baseball over his last handful of starts. He seems like he's really figuring it out.
Ben Lively out of nowhere, man. You cannot tell me that Ben Lively's success has nothing to do with the vibe in that clubhouse.
No, I agree. And whatever the Guardians can do from a developmental and like maximizing guys standpoint. My question is, how aggressive do you think they're going to be? Now that they have the ability to add plenty more capital, they're another team that is perpetually in a 40-man crunch. And I mean, we're doing Guardians top prospects on the call up Friday. I honestly, like, it's been one of the harder ones to work through just because, yes, it's a really good system, but the redundancy, like it gets exhausting for me because I love bouncing around different types of prospects, writing up different types of profiles. The Guardians all upper minor, middle infield, switch hitters. A lot of teams need players like that. And a lot of teams would happily add players like that to the fold in a trade. And those are all guys that are going to be on the 40-man. So they're going to need to trim down. So I think naturally they will make a move or two. There's so many, replacement center fielders out there. Like if the Mets decide to sell, you could go get a Bader. They might do that even if they're not completely selling. Like you could go out and get those types of pieces. But, I do wonder, like, do they try to aim higher and do something like that catches us off guard that is very uncharacteristic of the Cleveland Guardians?
Yes. What does Taylor Ward cost?
A decent bit, but nothing that they can't afford and nothing that hurts them.
So tell me how the organization as a whole gets worse if they acquire Taylor Ward for Juan Brito, Angel Ganao, and a filler.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much enough there. I mean, they're fine. They're going to go draft JJ Weatherholt, who's already a better prospect, or Bazzano, whoever. They're going to add one of those guys.
They have Tana right there too. Like, they've got so many freaking options, man. Like, trade from your surplus for the love of God. We've been begging them to trade from their surplus. And this is like, you're right. Taylor Ward is right here. He's from Dayton. He's in Ohio. He's right here. Go get him.
I didn't know he was from Dayton.
And like, it makes more sense for Cincinnati, but like, Cincinnati's not trading for Taylor Ward right now.
Can he play center though? That's the only issue.
Do you need him to? You've got Will Brennan in a corner.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. Just move him over to center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they need a right-handed bat, no brainer. And like, think about what that does now, just kind of adding the layers there. I mean, it would be so perfect. So I hope they do something like that because Guardians fans deserve that. Cleveland fans deserve an investment, and building on this. And, man, they're easy to root for. So I hope they do that. I also hope they go out and get, maybe like a rental arm. I don't know if that's not really up their alley, but it would help them a lot. Just someone that I think like a Flaherty type that they could rely on. Because that's the one thing is like, okay, there's a really fun regular season team when they get to the postseason. What's your postseason rotation if you're the Cleveland Guardians? Bybee gets the ball game 1 for me.
Yes.
Then what?
That's a great question.
That's another hurdle in this thing.
I think Gavin Williams will get to the point where he can get the ball game.
He's that good. He is that good if he's healthy, 100%. And then I think Ben Lively gets the ball game 3.
Do you really think so?
So he's got 3 flat.
I know.
Maybe not at this point. Like maybe by the end of the season, no. I'm worried that McKenzie doesn't even make it through the year. If he does, then I guess it's you live and die with McKenzie, or Logan Allen starts throwing better. I don't know. That's where I think getting one more arm is interesting. But that said, like they're in a good spot, and I don't think they need to go get anybody crazy. And I think they can afford to go get a rental. And clearly, this team is for real. Like I don't think you'd be making a mistake by investing in this team this year. And if they, I don't think I wouldn't have the concern of them hitting a wall, because I think some of the other teams in the division are hitting a wall. And I know we're going to get to one of those in a moment, but like they're going to run away with the division. So you got to give them a good shot to do something in the postseason too.
Can I throw you a name and you shut it down if you want? But if they want to go real big, like bigger than Taylor Ward, and they want to try it, and I don't think this guy is their type because I know they really prioritize middle of the infield defense. But if Bo Bichette is available, do they entertain that? They have the capital to do it.
I know they love the middle infield defense, as you said, but at the same time, like, what is Rocchio doing for you at this point?
Nothing.
And like we're seeing some of the smarter teams in baseball prioritize some offense at shortstop rather than defense. You know, you can go get it anywhere else. You know, the team is really good defensively in a lot of other aspects. I wonder how Rocchio is actually, I know he's a great defender as a prospect, but I wonder how he's graded out at the big league level at this point, because, you know, I know he's been struggling a lot of times. Young hitters take that out to the field with them. Looking at Rocchio, like he's grading out as a pretty good defender, but I mean, I'd be cool with that. I'd give it a shot. It isn't quite up their alley, but why not? Like, why not try to push this thing over the top and go from there? I doubt they do it. I because of the shortstop defense side of things, and yeah, as you kind of mentioned, that the pitching and defense has been a huge part of why they're succeeding. But it could be a good buy low opportunity that I don't think that they should overlook. The problem is the shortstop market's just so thin otherwise too, right? Like who else is a shortstop that's going to be moved? I don't think there's very many out there.
I don't think there are very many at all, because it's not like the Marlins have a shortstop to deal. They're begging for one. Rockies aren't moving Tovar. Then in terms of teams out of it in the American League, like DeYoung, I guess, but even then, like, what does Paul DeYoung do for you? I'd rather give Tana a shot.
Yeah, I'd rather just try one of my 80 middle infielders at that point.
Yeah.
And I just don't see the Padres ever being in a spot where they would sell, because like a Ha-Seong Kim would make sense, but they'll never do that. So yeah, I think you're either gonna have to go internally or adjust their philosophy or just focus on the outfield and then try one of their several middle infielders, or hope Rocchio starts to, you know, tick up and figure things out.
You know who I would kind of love to see them pay? Willie Adames.
I would love to see them go that route in free agency.
The
rest of the team is so controllable. You have Jose Ramirez on like the best deal in Major League Baseball. Like
Jimenez is on one of the best deals in Major League Baseball. I know last year everybody was like, "Oh, it's a terrible deal. Why'd they give him $100 million?" Because he's going to defend his way to 80 of it, and the other 20 is going to come from offense. And he's producing way more than $20 million worth of offense over the next 6-7 years.
No doubt about it. So I can't wait to see what they do, and I really hope that they push the chips forward.
Yeah, I have a feeling they might kind of dip their toes in, and then this offseason is really when you see Cleveland attack it. But we're going to get to that team that you kind of teased hitting a wall in that division. But before that, quick break. That team that's hitting a wall is the Kansas City Royals. And the Kansas City Royals have dropped 7 of their last 10. In the month of June, by team OPS, they're the 5th worst in baseball. The Miami Marlins have a 579 team OPS in June. That's the worst by 50 points, I think, 45, 50 points. Then Texas, 22 games in June, 623 team OPS. Then Oakland, then Detroit, and then the Kansas City Royals. And this Royals offense was exciting and young, and it was amazing. I don't think I truly understood how much they were living and dying by Bobby Witt Jr. until he started.
And Salvi.
Like, it was those two. And I was like, oh, wow, Nelson Velasquez is swinging it. MJ Melendez is swinging it. They were swinging it for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then they tapered off, and it was really just Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvi, and they would win Seth Lugo starts 4-1, and they would win Singer starts, and then they would win Reagan starts, and it's like, oh, wow, this team's above 500. This is awesome. This is super exciting. And then Bobby Witt starts to cool off, and it's not even like he's been horrible. It's just like he hasn't been the superhuman that he was for the first 2 months of the season.
Yep.
Salvi's starting to show his 33-year-old self. What's he? 34-year-old self. I mean, again, it feels like he's 38 years old, but 34-year-old self. I mean, dude, like this team was living by Bobby Witt Jr. and Sal Perez, and they are dying by Bobby Witt Jr. and Sal Perez right now.
Yeah, and it's tough because it's like, do you go get some reinforcements? I think they're gonna still be kind of aggressive because why not? And maybe you can buy with control. But you also, this is an instance where it's not like they have the best farm system in the world. You don't want to deplete assets for a team that might end up still, fizzling out. Salvador over his last 25 games, 182, 273, 330 slash line. So this is 602 OPS. I've always been concerned. We talked about like buy or sell hot starts, or we talked about guys that I think will slow down in the second half in the mailbag last episode. And Salvi was one of those guys for me just because the chase is just so high. And it just seems like as pitchers start to execute their game plan against him, it becomes harder. MJ was red hot and then reverted back. I don't know why. I was just comparing the video, reverted back to the old swing. I don't even know if he fully is aware of where he was and then how he reverted back. And since he's reverted back to the old swing mechanics, it's been pretty ugly. They're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with anybody. They called up CJ Alexander to try to give it a shot. Freddie Fermin's getting some more run, which I think they should play him way more. I think he should be playing way more. And I think Salvador should be DHing more and Fermin should be catching because he's actually swung it well. But like when you look at this lineup, man, like Maikel Garcia, I think was were you the one that said it was like a group thing coming into the year?
Yeah, I said, I don't even know if I said that on air. Maikel Garcia.
Sorry if I just exposed you, but like it kind of was a group thing. Like I get it. He's fun. He's young. He defends well. There's some good like underlying characteristics, but like, why were we assuming that he was going to be a productive, corner infielder right away?
He's $135 in the month of June right now. Maikel Garcia. Maikel Garcia in 23 games in June, slashing 135, 214, 157. This happens to young players.
Yeah. The underlying data looks good, so I get it. I get it. It was really fun. There's a lot to and it could all come together, but like you said, it happens to young players. The outfield, you can't have an outfield of MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, and Kyle Isbell and say you're serious about, going somewhere. The problem is, do they do that now and try to add? You can't because it's too early. There's just not going to be that many pieces available. So they got to weather this storm. I love Bobby. I love Vinny. I think Vinny's going to keep heating up. I still believe in him no matter what. Massey being back is great. But I mean, I think it's as stark of a drop off. We talk about the Cubs. I think it's way worse here in terms of drop off from the top 4 guys to the next 4 to 5 guys. I mean, you're going from solid, really good hitter, and then with a couple, and then it's fully guys below the Mendoza line and well below 300 OBP. I don't know, what do you do if you're the Royals? You try to make some low cost move and expedite this thing? Do you call the Marlins about Brian De La Cruz, knowing that he won't be too expensive and hope that he gives you a shot in the ass? They're also so lefty heavy on the back end of that lineup too. So it just puts them in tough spots. And the back end of the bullpen stinks. There's just so many. I love this team. They're so fun. I love what they're doing. I think they're heading in the right direction. We've praised them and I still think they deserve all the praise. But if you're serious about this year, how do you get this thing right?
I think you used the word not great to describe their farm system. I'm going to give you a chance to amend that. Their farm system is bottom what in Major League Baseball?
Bottom.
They have one fringe top 100 guy right now. Ramon Ramirez.
I'll give Blake Mitchell a fringe top 100 nod, but I don't really think so either. It's bottom 5. It's bottom 5.
It's bottom 5. So you have really nothing to work with here. So you're telling me that you're going to try and go make a big splash for a guy with multiple years of control. Well, you can't do it because you're going to get outbid very, very quickly. And okay, Brian De La Cruz, great. He's going to cost you, in a normal farm system, he would cost a team 2 guys in the 6 to 10 range in their system. right?
Yeah, at most, maybe one guy in that range, and then two guys out 10 to
11
15.
to 15. Yeah, sure. In the Royals system, that package goes from one in the 6 to 10 range and one in the 12 to 15 range to like a guy in the 3 to 5 range and a guy in the 6 to 7 range.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about right now. So even a Brian De La Cruz, you're going to feel it
Yeah.
in your organization. And that's a really tough spot to be in. And I know that this is like very, very early in the post Dayton Moore era, but like Dayton Moore left them in a very
Yeah.
bad spot.
I love the point that you bring up. And I think to that, have fun,
Yeah.
enjoy it. Like if you're a Royals fan, this is a young team. This is a fun team.
And the window's not open yet.
They almost are wrestling it open. Who knows? They could get hot. The pitching's fun. But this is going to be a really valuable learning experience for the whole team. We talked about it going into the year, how valuable it is for Bobby Wood Jr. and Vinny Pascantino and Cole Reagans and some of these guys to just play a season where they have a shot, where you're not just, it doesn't feel like the minor leagues where you're just kind of playing for yourself to a degree. And, there's no goal at the end because, you don't have a chance to compete this year. Like they have a chance and they're playing more meaningful baseball. That's great. And I think that's going to set them up really well for next year. But I think the Royals probably look at this, the Royals front office, knowing what they inherited, and you can tell that it's night and day from where Dayton Moore left it and the way that it's run organizationally. I think you ride this out, hope things go well. If you have a cheap opportunity to go at a right-handed bat, sure, go at a cheap right-handed bat. But I think for the most part, just have fun. Like if you're a Royals fan, enjoy these young players. And I think this offseason, they're going to see what they have nucleus wise. And I think they're going to go add a couple more guys. And all of a sudden, you might have a team here that can really put it together and be a competitive ball club next year. And I think the easiest way, this is the team where you can add in free agency to put it over the top. You can't build in free agency. They've got their core. They nailed their other free agent signings with Lugo. And even the way Marsh has developed has been nice. Like all they got to do is just sign a couple bats of this offseason. I think they're in a really good spot.
Yeah. What kind of level of bat are you looking at? Price jumps quickly. Like, do you think they're willing to fork over 60 to $70 million for a hitter?
I'd hope so, but they got a lot of like unknown with like where their next ballpark, like where the next ballpark's gonna be and all that stuff too, right?
That was like kind of weird. It was.
I didn't understand that at all, to be honest. I didn't even understand what was going on. I didn't even know that was a
County
thing.
doesn't want to pay for. I'm not sure what's going on either, but I know that there's some, I guess, like indecision on that front that might be hampering their ability to spend on talent.
I think a reclamation or like bounce back guy like a Cedric Mullins wouldn't be that expensive. Great addition and a great vet to add into that fold. Austin Hayes would be in their price range, I think. I think like those types of players, Lane Thomas should be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. Any of those guys, I think, are in their price range and really do make a difference for them.
Yeah, Cedric Mullins totally feels like a Royal. Totally feels like I
Right?
want to be the vet on this Royals team. I could totally see that. I like that.
So,
Okay.
how do you think the rest of the year goes for them?
Not well.
Not this bad though, right?
Not this bad. No, I think Reagans continues to throw the ball really well because I just think Reagans is uber talented and uber talented guys. Like I have faith in them willing their way to a 3.5. And I think Reagans is like in that conversation, as crazy as it sounds, because we didn't know who that was when he was traded for Aroldis Chapman. Like we knew, but we knew
he was the first round pick guy that at this point you're like, oh,
TJ guy. It's like, oh yeah, like damaged goods for Aroldis Chapman. That's kind of a weird one. And now it's like, oh yeah, he's the young, really talented arm that's one of the best left-handers in the American League. I think that he has changed the narrative on him that quickly. I think that Singer made some real good adjustments, and we have totally seen that. So
Lugo's pitching like one of the best pitchers in baseball.
yeah, like Lugo is one of the best arms in baseball. So I think that they are at a competitive net neutral or competitive advantage 3 days out of the 5.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't
and
think
even
that,
Waka's a good 4.
yeah, Waka's a good 4. Now, having said that, like if they're in a 4-3 game, I think they have the 3 more often than not. I could see this team, if you were to look, June 26, June 27 onward for the rest of the year, I could see this team playing at maybe 2 games under 500. And that's not good enough to get you in the postseason, but like that's something to hang your hat on if you're Kansas
Great
City.
year.
It's a
Great year.
huge improvement.
Think about when we were talking about over under win totals coming into the year, and like, we like them to go over, but we're like, it's probably 500 team that takes a step forward this year. If they're a handful of games over 500, that is a great step in the right direction considering where they were at last year.
Yeah. A couple of guys that I want to talk about before we go. David Festa and Jhonkensy Noel. Both guys are getting up for their major league debut. David Festa in arm with the Twins. Jhonkensy Noel a bat with the Guardians. Told you it was going to be a very American League Central show. But David Festa, he's a tall, weird looking guy. Like he's very long. It's very Ben Brown. He's listed at 6'6", a $185, but 13th round pick in 2021 out of Seton Hall. This guy's 24 years old. This year in St. Paul, 59 and 2/3 innings across 14 starts. He's got a 3.77 ERA, K'ing 13 per 9, walking 3.5 per 9. Festa has been as impressive of an arm as I've seen this year at the AAA level. Now, let me say, that's not saying
AAA. I was gonna say it's been pillaged. That's not saying too much for sure.
Not saying too much at all. Like AAA pitching has been downright horrible this year. Staff ERA is a 4.95 in AAA this year. It's hard to wrap your brain around. But this guy has been one of the few pitching prospects that has really looked the part in AAA. And now he gets his shot. And if you guys remember, I had plenty of qualms about Simeon Woods Richardson. I had plenty of concerns about SWR, but now he's shut me up. And you think that David Festa is a guy that, can shut a lot of the critics up?
Yeah, I think he found something this year. Made a slight adjustment to his mechanics, working more like north-south instead of rotationally. And I think when he was kind of flying open a little bit, the fastball would tend to run more than maintain that vert. So now this year, and this is a guy that's always had a 70 grade slider. Now, fastball is better. It's also a little bit harder. He gained about an inch or two of induced vertical break. Now he's trusting that more. Last year, his fastball strike rate was sub 60%. Now it's 65% because he's trusting it in the zone and getting way more in-zone whiff. So not having to rely on the slider nearly as much, having that fastball that gets way more whiff than ever before. And then his changeup is flashed off of that in the past. But now that pitch he has a much better feel for, and that's been playing like an above average or at least plus pitch. This is a top 100 prospect, I think, for good reason, because you look at what he can do, and he's a guy that cracked the top 100 for us in our update. Yeah. 3 big league pitches, all above average, and the command has just gotten better and better since he made that mechanical adjustment. And over his last 5 starts with the ABS, and we talk about how hard it is to throw strikes in AAA right now, 5% walk rate in his last 5 starts, 35 strikeouts, just 5 walks. The one thing to watch is he likes to elevate, and sometimes the sliders can kind of flatten the cutters and, kind of stay up on him, and he'll get burned by the long ball here and there. But when he's executing, I mean, it's 3 above average, big league pitches, good command. I think he can be a guy that settles right into that 4 spot in the rotation for them and can be really solid. I'm very pumped to watch him do his thing, and I think he can be good for them.
Do you see any chance of a blow up for him? Like, he's a guy that I watch, and Major, by the way, Major, not Mazer.
Major, yeah, I didn't know that either.
Major. But I just watched Major. Like, that guy has experienced a blow up, and I think we knew that could have been in the cards. And with a lot of young right-handers, especially, we know that can be in the cards. With Festa, I just watch him and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have a terrible outing by your standards, you're gonna walk the world. And you're not going to really get hit hard. Like, you're going to beat yourself. You're going to allow 4 runs in an inning and 2/3 because you got in trouble with 5 walks. He hasn't done that this year. I don't see a world where, like, a major league team hits him around and all of a sudden he's got 4 homers hung on him in the 4th.
I don't either, to be honest. I just was looking up at, like, some of the worst starts he's really had are like 5 earned runs. I think the worst start of his professional career was 6 earned runs in AA against Northwest Arkansas in 2023. He's had a couple of 5 earned run starts this year, but in AAA, again, things just get so wonky, and that was earlier in this season. I don't see him as a guy that's going to get. And again, when you have 2 secondaries that you can go to and a good fastball, when something's not there, he can just kind of skate by and figure it out. And with where the command has trended towards, I think he's a guy that at the very least is going to be able to go out there and give you 5 innings and give you a shot. And I think that's all they need, because like Varland, not impervious to the blow up. Unfortunately, Paddock was not impervious to the blow up since he's come back and now on the IL. So I think he fits exactly what they need.
Yeah, I totally see that as well. Speaking of fitting exactly what you need, Jhonkensy Noel is up at the Cleveland Guardians, and we've been begging for, what, 4 years? Pod started April 1, 2021. We've been begging since April 1, 2021 for the Guardians to have power.
Yeah.
22 was this guy's breakout between what, low A and high A, and then I think a little bit of double A at the end. He
Yeah.
was like, who is this mammoth of a human being in the Guardians organization? Last year, he's up in triple, really bad, really
Yeah.
bad. But then Jhonkensy Noel, in the month of June at this point, is slashing 395, 446, 711 with an 1157 OPS. And on the year, Jhonkensy Noel's numbers for a guy that like punched out a lot, wasn't really walking, and hit, I think,
Swings at everything.
and hit very, very low 200s. Jhonkensy Noel in 65 games, slashing 295, 359, 578. That's a 937 OPS, 15 doubles, 18 homers. And he's only punched 60 times in 258 ABs. He's like achieved what we've asked him to achieve. Like he's corrected what we've asked him to correct, and now he's up for the big league debut.
He's so young too. He's not even 23 yet. What's wild to me is a little bit of prospect fatigue because of how he burst onto the scene in 22. The chase has always been the issue. And in the first 36 games of the year, was chasing at a 43% clip, and he had a 720 OPS in that span. In the 30 games since then, where he's slashing 402, 471, 705, he's cut that chase rate to 34%, which is still high, but it's borderline egregious compared to the most egregious.
Yeah.
The contact rates are way up too. And I'm actually going to put a thread out later today, because there's a tangible setup change for him in that span that I think has allowed him to get to his spot earlier and see the ball earlier and not feel like he has to be in swing mode all the time. But nobody that hits the ball 118 miles an hour, which he's flashed this year, should be able to hit 400 over a 30 game span. I'm not saying he's Barry Bonds. Like there's going to be a lot of issues here because he is, if you execute your game plan, you can set him down.
Yeah.
But the point is, for a guy with plus raw power, he's got a better feel to hit than you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love him in the outfield. I do like him at first. He's actually really solid defender at first. I was surprised with that video.
Yeah.
If he can just keep that chase rate in the low 30s, I think he's an above average big league bat, but we haven't really seen him do that for more than this 30 game stretch where we do have a tangible adjustment and he's been a monster. So I'm just excited to see what it looks like at the big league level. And hopefully they give him a little bit more runway since they're, already doing so well.
He has a body unlike anything I've ever seen in minor league baseball. He's a gargantuan human being. Like that lower half on TV, you're going to be in awe. And I got like close to the turtle during batting practice. Like I'm stunned by how big that guy's lower half is. And then you see him pop a 118 and it's like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense. He's just a big, he swings like an edge rusher. Like if Ndamukong Suh in college played baseball, like him running into balls would look like Jhonkensy Noel running into baseballs.
That's funny.
I was in the Dominican for his Dominican Winter League debut this offseason. He hit a ball that like, you remember the Mike Trout at Topgolf video where the ball disappears? Like that's what happened. It was like 10 p.m. and it was just a liner that like kept on going, like long drive Bryson DeChambeau type thing, where like it just kept going. And I was like, you know what? Obviously no Hawkeye here in San Pedro de Macorís, but that was 140 off the bat.
He's got again 118 this year. Like he can, I think in the big leagues too, he might flirt with a 120. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of those guys that tops it up there and gets into like another range. One other note, if you play like daily fantasy or something and you're looking for like a cheap edition, or if you want to use our BetMGM promo code, if Jhonkensy Noel faces a guy throwing a sinker, take his over bases.
Really?
His last 30 games, so his last 32 plate appearances against sinkers, he's 15 for 30 with 4 home runs. Let's promo code just baseball if you want to take his over bases next time he faces like a sinker type.
Cool.
And if it loses because I gave it to you, you get your deposit back in bonus, or you get your bet back in bonus bets
Up to 1,500.
up
That's
to 1,500.
that's really,
Yeah,
really
please don't put 1,500 on anything I ever
no,
give you.
don't do that.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing that I want to talk about. Nats-Padres on Tuesday night. What was it? Jurickson and Profar came up, immediately started barking with Keibert Ruiz behind the plate. Then did benches clear right after that? I have the timeline.
Yeah, so Machado came in, tried to like break it up, which honestly just made it more it was inflammatory because like Profar doesn't care. Like you could just tell Profar like just wasn't even looking at him, just like didn't really give a shit, and just like almost trying to piss him off by how little he cared. And then Machado got in and like kind of said like break it up, and then that's where it got like even more of a thing. And then that's where the bench is clear, and you have this like barking back and forth, and it was a lot of nothing until the Schilt starts yelling a little bit, the managers start going back and forth, and then Profar comes back to home plate. Him and Keibert starts still talking a little bit again, and then it kind of like builds back up, and we had to wait about 10 minutes before the next pitch was thrown, and the next pitch.
The next pitch was 98 in on Profar from Mackenzie Gore, and it plunked him, and there was no immediate ejection. And like I was with the Padres booth on that. Like, given the benches clearing and then dispersing, and the next pitch being 98 in on his body, like
it was his back shin, but it did hit.
But like, and it was 98. Like, I think given the circumstances, you probably need to toss score at that point. But there wasn't even a warning issued. No, there was.
There was a warning issued right before.
There was a warning issued right before, and then they didn't toss him after 98 hit the guy. And I know it could be entirely unintentional, but like,
I feel very confident that it was unintentional, but by the book, you toss him there.
By the book, you have to toss him there. They didn't, so Schilt comes out and immediately gets tossed because it's like, dude, what the hell? If you're not going to toss score, what are we doing here? And then that's when things escalated. We had another 10 minutes of barking and dialogue and all that. And then Manny Machado goes yard. And it was like, that was as good a baseball cinema as we've gotten this year and probably in the last several years. And there were layers to it. Like, Jurickson and Profar being, probably an all-star starter this year, and him being damaged goods last year and literally the worst qualified player in baseball after signing late.
At Coors.
At Coors. Like, how can you be that bad at Coors? Mackenzie Gore facing his old team and the team that kind of fucked him up before the trade. Like, there's a lot of baggage there with Mackenzie Gore and the San Diego Padres. So there were a lot of layers here, and for all of it to result in that, the couple of benches clearing, the ejection of the manager, and the Machado home run right after the fact, that was like very good baseball.
You just knew Machado was going to go deep there. Like I just felt it, even though he's not swinging it great, like you just felt it. I do think that was an unintentional hit by pitch. You could tell Gore's reaction right away. He's like, oh shit. But like, how do you do that? First pitch, I'd be working away, like first pitch right away. And I think he wanted to surprise him and work in, knowing that that'd probably be what he was thinking. But I know, like, knowing what we've seen from Mackenzie Gore, where like things can unravel.
Yes.
I'm imagining him just getting ready to go in the windup saying, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him, don't hit him, and then hitting him. So like, I was like, that's the one thing you can't do. So I understand like the outrage on that, and he probably should have been tossed. I genuinely don't think it was intentional though. But then later in the ball game, Profar hitting a grand slam too. Just incredible. That guy is on another planet, and it is just so fun to watch. And I love the way he went about it. Honestly, like he didn't really do anything to make it worse. He just kind of was like walking around, strutting his thing, and like, yeah, hey, am I bothering you? Oh, sorry, I'm bothering you. Like you could tell he was kind of trying to ruffle feathers, but not saying anything. And then I don't know how he kept that ball fair. So the swings he's been getting off this year have been some of the best swings I've seen at the big league level, including that walk off, like a C swing that he crushes into the gap. He's dialed in right now, and even with all the extracurriculars there for him to do that, That's when baseball is fun, right? Like where a Nationals Padres matchup can deliver because teams care and they're competitive, and you get a little bit of fire on June 25th.
Yeah, no, that is baseball at its best, where like two teams that just don't like each other kind of show it. And
If
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I like two teams that don't like each other show it in late June, like you're saying, but also like two teams that you would never expect to not like each other. Sometimes
Yes.
it just happens. And like sometimes Reese Hoskins pisses somebody off of the Mets. And like Brewers Mets became a thing at the beginning of the year. And
Yeah.
now Nats Padres is a thing. Each time Mackenzie Gore throws, Nats Padres is going to be a thing.
I think Jesse Winker just naturally pisses everybody off
I think
personally.
so. Yeah.
He looks like a kind of guy that just would piss everybody off.
Did you see his shouting match with that like 70-year-old fan?
Yeah, I'm out. Consider me out on Jesse Winker. You can put that on record. I think he's weird. Like I don't know how to describe it. Just the way he goes about his business just rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like it.
It's Anthony Rendon with less money.
Yeah, yeah. At least he hits better, and
I
unless he
like that.
plays
I am out in all caps on
out.
Jesse. Okay.
Also, last thing, if the Nationals really want to stick it to the Padres, they should call up James Wood.
Yeah. Yep. Too little, too late for that. For this trip to San Diego, at least. But yeah, that would really, really burn. Every link you need is in the episode description. I think it'll be Peter and Aram tomorrow. Yes, to tie up the week. I've got a day game on a Thursday, which is kind of crazy. Ooh. Also, the Savannah Bananas in Indianapolis. So
I'm sorry.
Do I do that on Thursday night? I don't know.
No.
I saw it last year. It was fine.
I think once is enough.
Once is enough. We'll see if I can get a cheap Tyler Childers ticket. All right. Every link you need in the episode description, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.